Winter is officially here, and that means no more sports cars and back to crossovers. And I have one right with me today. Welcome everybody then to the 2024 Nissan Rogue. What is it? Well, it's a popular name and you'll see a ton of them on the road. But how is it to drive and how is it to live with? Let's see. For MY24, Nissan has slightly tweaked and updated the Rogue, just minor nip and tuck here, and well, you really have to have a keen eye to tell the differences. Let's see how this cool crossover is. So, what is the Rogue? Well, as you know, it's a very popular crossover that is selling in good numbers and you can see plenty on the road. So, what's this updated one? Well, essentially, it's still the same Rogue that's been on sale since I think 2019 or 2020, but for MY24, it has received slight updates. And well, what are those updates? You have to have a really keen eye. First update is the chrome grille. So the previous pre-facelift grille didn't have this much chrome. So this is one of the key factors that will help you identify that this is the updated latest one. You still have the split headlights, so you have the DRLs on the upper part and a proper LED headlight on the bottom, which I think looks pretty good. I think this is one of the better looking crossovers in the segment today because we do have some really futuristic, if I can say, and I know I'm being kind, designs that are currently on sale in the market today. So this one still has a rather conventional look, but I think it still looks very, very good. I really like this paint shade. It's an option with the dual tone black roof, and I think it's an option that it's pretty worth it. I think it's like $500 or $700, but I think it's well worth it because it does look really, really good. You do have blacked out parts on the bottom of the bumper, and yeah, overall it's very clean, very minimalistic, but I think it looks very, very handsome. It's still one of the better looking crossovers in the segment today. When you come to the side of the Rogue is, again, not too many changes. One of the things that you'll notice are these updated wheels. I think they look really, really good, lend a lot of flair to the side profile. You do have some cladding on the bottom of the doors as well. But yeah, nothing too fancy, typical Rogue shape. In fact, the shape is literally the same compared to the pre-facelift. And again, I think that's not a bad thing because we are getting lots of, boxy designs in the segment today. So to have one with a conventional side profile, and as you can see from the side profile, it's actually a very, very tall car. I think it's one of the taller cars in its segment. So obviously that means it has amples of headroom for the occupants inside. Otherwise, as I said, it's very conventional, nothing too fancy, but I don't think that's a bad thing because I think it still looks very good on the road today. When you come to the rear of the Rogue is when you'll realize that they really haven't updated the rear compared to the front. I know the front also has just a slightly chrome grille, but I think that really uplifts the appearance from the front. From the rear, the only thing what I've noticed compared to the previous pre-facelift Rogue is this chrome strip and this blacked out part of the bottom of the bumper. I know it's not visible because I know the car is very dirty and I'm sorry for that. I've been trying to keep the car clean throughout the week, but just when we had to shoot, the weather turned its tide and it's made the car very, very muddy. However, it's still perhaps the only updated element on the car. You do have some badging, so you do have the Nissan badge, the Rogue badge, the Platinum badge, which is the top of the line variant of the Rogue, and you have all-wheel drive. The taillights still look very old, and this is what perhaps reminds you that this is an old platform. You do have the brake lights in LED, but the indicators and the reverse lights are halogen, which feel very old in today's age. So perhaps that could have been maybe updated with some LED units, and that would have made it look better. You do have a rear wiper on the windshield as well, a small little lip spoiler as well on the top, which is blacked out because again, as I said, this is the dual tone option, so I think it looks fairly good. You would think that the tailgate release would be under the Rogue badge, but it's not. In fact, it took me all of 10 seconds to realize that the button isn't there. The button is actually on the bottom part and it opens up and you get access to a pretty big boot. I think this is one of the biggest boots in its segment, which is commendable for Nissan to have. And well, when you do look at this vehicle, you know that it's a sizable vehicle and that does translate into lots of luggage space. Also, one thing that I find very quirky is the whole of the interior is blacked out, which is very nice. But you do have this one beige parcel tray, which really sticks out like a sore thumb. I'm not sure what went in the planning heads of the management because they could have just made this black and it would have really merged well with the whole of the interior. So I don't know what this is about. It actually looks like an afterthought, but at least you still have a parcel tray so that you can hide your luggage from the world. But yeah, as I said, the luggage itself is very big. You do have extra storage, which you can put under the floor as well. It's very well thought, very practical, and overall the rear design is also very safe, a bit too conventional for my liking. I'm now inside the 2024 Nissan Rogue, and well, it's been slightly updated on the inside as well, just like the front. They haven't done too many major upgrades compared to the pre-facelift. The biggest update is this huge screen, which I really like. It's got inbuilt Google Maps and Android, so you have Google Maps all the time. You don't have to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but I generally like to prefer to use, because it's, you know, not my car, so I don't want to sign in and let in on my credentials on an unknown car. But yeah, the touch response is very good, and actually I have to take off my gloves, but if I do that, the touch response is actually very good. The resolution is top notch, and I think the previous Rogue had this as a sore point where the screen wasn't good enough. They've fixed this with this, and I think it's really very nice, a very necessary upgrade to the Rogue. And I mean, kudos to Nissan for fixing the one thing that was wrong with the pre-facelift Rogue. You do have physical buttons for the volume, seat track. You do have physical buttons for the HVAC, which is again very lovely in a generation where, you know, all the aircon controls are going to touch, can get very annoying when you drive. This is all physical, which I like, and you can even control the temperature and the fan speed of the rear AC vents, which is again amazing. You do have a wireless charging tray, a start stop button, which almost looks like an afterthought. It's at a very awkward position. I mean, usually I'm used to seeing buttons here, so seeing one here is very weird. Two Type-C ports, a 12-volt charging as well, two cup holders, and you do have sort of this gloss black wooden finish on the center console, which I like a lot. It's not the shiny gloss black, which is a fingerprint magnet. This is actually not a fingerprint magnet at all. So I think this is a job well done, and maybe more brands can learn from this. If they want to put in gloss black elements in the dash, maybe this is the material to go for. You do have a quirky little shifter here as well. I don't know what they're doing. It's a squarish shifter, and you have to basically move it down for drive, reverse and neutral, and press to go into park. Button for an electronic handbrake and the auto hold as well. Two big size cup holders, and you have some storage in the center console as well. You do have a digital cluster gauge as well behind the steering, which is decent. It's got nice colors, and it's got all the necessary information that you would like. A 3-spoke steering with paddles, which again I don't understand Nissan's logic, and even Honda does it. This is a CVT gearbox, so I really don't understand the use of a paddle. It's just to make you feel good, but kudos to Nissan for providing it. You do have buttons on the steering for the adaptive cruise and changing the seat track and everything on the song. The steering itself feels very nice. It's very thin spoke, which I'm seeing one after a very long time, and I like it a lot. Leather stitched, and you got some aluminium bits as well, so it does feel good. You do have leather on the door pads as well. You do have some wood, and again the same wood that carries onto the dash as well, with some aluminium bits. I think the interior is a strong point of the Rogue. It does feel very nice, does feel built very well, and it feels very plush and worthy of the price tag. You also do have nice seats, so these are nice leather seats with some nice stitching as well, cross stitching as well. Adjustable for electric for driver and passenger, memory for the driver as well, and it's got decent comfort. Under thigh support is a bit lacking for me. I wish that would a bit better, but overall can't complain too much. I've been driving this car around on city and highway, and I've been decently comfortable. Overall, it's got the typical Nissan elements in here. If you've been in other Nissans, you'll be right at home here, but with some minor upgrades like the big screen, which I think is a huge win for the Rogue and very much necessary. So just a minor update here really uplifts the whole ambience, and kudos to Nissan for updating the Nissan Rogue in a very, you know, minor way, but the right way, and it really uplifts the ambience. I think I really like the interior of this car. I'm now in the rear of the Rogue. As you can see, space is really not an issue, and as I said from when I was talking about the exterior, it's a very big car, and I think one of the bigger cars in its segment, and it shows in the cabin space. The front seats are also very spacious. The rear are equally spacious, if not more than the front, and you do have a big boot, as I mentioned as well. So I think it's packaged really well. You have immense legroom. This driving seat is for my driving height. I'm 5'8", and I have so much space to tuck in my feet. My knees are nowhere near the seat. You do have seat back pockets as well. Headroom is also really not a problem at all. I can see 6-footers or even 6'4", 6'5" sitting in the back and not brushing their head. It's actually really good. You do have blockers on the window as well for the sunshade, which is very nice. It's manual, but not complaining because it's a must-have nowadays. Lots of cars have it, and I'm glad that Nissan included the Rogue. So that's a very nifty feature. You do have the same leather and wood on the door trims as well, and overall it's actually really not that bad. Under thigh support is a bit lacking, just like the front. I feel like the seat base could have been a bit longer. That would have helped with under thigh support. But yeah, overall it's really not that bad. You do have a center armrest as well with 2 cup holders, and overall it's actually, as I said, not a bad place to sit at all. It's very comfortable, very nice, very airy. You do have a panoramic glass sunroof as well, so that lends in lots of light as well. But yeah, overall, what can I say? It actually feels very nice. You do have 2 vents, temperature control on the rear as well, so it's a tri-zone climate control in this car. Heated seats for 2 passengers and 2 type C ports as well. The hump isn't too tall, so the third passenger is welcome. They do have a headrest. As I said, it's very practical, very well thought, very well spaced out, and overall they've utilized the space, the footprint of the Rogue very well, and you do have oodles of space. If I might say, this might be one of the most spacious cars in its segment, which is a very positive trait. I'm now behind the wheel of the 2024 Rogue, so let's get the numbers out of the way. This has a 1.5 litre turbocharged 3-cylinder. I know, I don't remember the last time I drove a 3-cylinder engine, but yes, this has a 3-cylinder engine, but it's turbocharged. Produces about 200 horsepower, is all-wheel drive, and has the famous/infamous Nissan CVT gearbox. So let's see how this crossover drives. Use the weird gear lever, put into drive, and we set off. And you'll notice that it picks up from 0 very easily. Low end torque isn't too bad. There is turbo lag, but the CVT works really well and it masks the turbo lag really well. I'm on a perfect piece of tarmac and the ride is really good. Even though this car is running on 19-inch wheels, but the sidewall is thick enough to absorb any bump, and the combination of the thick sidewall, the suspension tuning, and the seat comfort works really well, and overall you don't feel anything into the car at all. The driving position is also very nice. You sit a bit higher up, so you have a clear view of the whole bonnet, so you can actually perfectly align this car in tight spaces. And obviously this car has all the gimmicks as well. So this has the 360 camera, reverse camera, front camera, all the sensors all around. So it's very easy to drive this car on a day-to-day basis. Overall it's very easy, and I mean this car does have drive mode, so it default by starts in auto mode, and you can use this rotary knob to go into eco mode, sport mode, and you can feel it eagerly drops a gear, if I can say that, but it raises the RPM up in sport mode. And there's snow mode and off-road mode. So if I'm in sport mode, I floor it, and you can hear the engine going up, and they simulate the fake shifts really well, and it's not slow. I mean, it's not the fastest crossover in its segment for sure. The Mazda CX-5 and the CX-50s and the RAV4 Primes, all that way faster, but it's not too bad. Honestly, it has enough pep for your day-to-day commute and day-to-day drive on the highway and the city roads. Steering feel is also decent. It's very light, so in city traffic it's extremely easy to maneuver, easy to park. On the highway it weighs up decently, not the most weighty steering or the one with the most feedback, but it's okay. There is body roll as well, but again, this SUV or these kind of crossovers are not meant to be track machines, and I totally understand it. It's completely laid back, very comfortable, very chilled, very relaxed vehicle, and you tend to drive this vehicle in that kind of manner when you are behind the wheel. It's very easy. Brakes are good as well, decent bite on the pedal as well, a bit wooden, but again, nothing to complain because it's a relaxed family mover. Fuel economy, you can get about, I would say 9.5 liters to the 100 on the highway, and in the city I've been getting about 10 to 10.5, close to 11 liters, which is again decent. However, it is a 1.5 3-cylinder motor, so I would expect it to be a bit more efficient, but it's not. So that's the only down part, but again, not too much of a deal breaker. What can I say? It drives like a very conventional crossover family mover, and it doesn't disappoint in that aspect. It's very comfortable, very laid back, got enough pep. It's again, I can't really fault it. It's just a perfect A to B vehicle, and this vehicle does all of those things very well. In conclusion then, the 2024 Nissan Rogue Platinum all-wheel drive. Well, I've been wanting to drive this SUV for a very long time, and I'm glad that I finally got my chance towards the end of the year. Honestly, it's really not a bad crossover at all. It's got all the necessary tech and features you need. I don't think it looks too bad. The interior is also very spacious, well built, and it's got, as I said, all the kit you need. So everyone's happy. The driver's happy, the passenger's happy, and it's got a very huge boot as well, which can accommodate all your luggage properly. It's got all-wheel drive as well, which is very useful in conditions like we have faced today. And I don't think it drives too bad as well. The engine has decent pep, but the handling is a bit too soft. But I get it. People don't want corner cars, and these crossovers are not meant to be track weapons. Having said that, the Rogue does feel like a bit of a jack of all trades. And in such a cluttered segment where I feel like there's like 10 or 15 cars on sale that go up against the Rogue, you really need to excel and in multiple points. But the Rogue does everything decent, nothing too well or excelling in particular points, and that's kind of my problem with the Rogue. It's not bad, but it's really not a wow. It doesn't make me feel like I need to get my keys and go for a drive in this particular car. At $47,000 Canadian for this Platinum all-wheel drive, I think it's pretty good value as well, because this is with the optional dual tone paint. You really have everything that you would ever need in a family crossover. But as I said, it does do everything, doesn't do anything particularly too well that would lure me to buy this vehicle over its competitors.